So, speedruns. They're, really fast. And Pokemon speedruns are full of all kinds of crazy glitches and RNG manipulations and crazy strats that I barely understand. And let's be honest, you and me, we're probably never gonna beat the fastest speedrunners in the world. It's just not gonna happen. But just because we're not the best, it doesn't mean we can't do our best. And that's what this is all about. This is the Average Player Speedrun. And I'm calling you out. I want you to try to beat me. It's you versus me, winner takes all. So out of all the Pokemon games we could do this on, I'm going with Fire Red and Leaf Green. We get those sweet nostalgia vibes of Gen 1 with the updated mechanics and graphics of Gen 3. Plus, it's easy to run on an emulator, so you don't need to go out and spend money to get involved. The rules are simple. Finish the game as fast as you can. But because this is the Average Player Speedrun, there's some extra rules. No glitches, and by glitches I mean anything that looks like this. None of that. No RNG manipulation. Actually, no manipulation of any game mechanics of any kind. And if you don't know what RNG manipulation is, you probably don't need to worry about doing it accidentally, because it usually involves a separate program to generate an algorithm to identify frame-perfect button presses and make very specific things happen. I have no idea how to do it, but none of that. Just playing through the game as Nintendo intended. As Nintended. That's it. And I'm adding in a couple of extra rules for myself that you can choose to follow as well if you want to or not. It's up to you. I'm not allowed to look anything up. As in, I'm not allowed to Google anything, I'm not allowed to read any guides, I've only got my own knowledge of the game. And finally, I only get one attempt. No practice runs, no restarts, or whatever happens, I just gotta deal with it. Adapt and overcome. Because if I practice 100 runs until I get it perfect, it's not really an Average Player speedrun anymore. So, one shot. So as of the date of this upload, the leaderboard for an any percent glitchless run looks like this. The world record is 2 hours and 39 seconds. You may have also noticed that there are two separate leaderboards, one for console and one for emulator. The times vary by about a minute or so, but we're focusing on the emulator leaderboard because that's what we'll be playing on. So obviously I'm not expecting to get anywhere near 2 hours, but let me know in the comments right now, how long do you reckon it's going to take me? I mean, the 100% blue one took me over 30 hours, also go watch that video. But we're not doing everything today, so I'm hoping that I can finish the game a little bit quicker than that. So let's find out. So a little bit of technical stuff, the timer starts at the new game screen and ends at the fade to black after beating the Elite Four. So time starts now. At the same time, we steal a few little tricks from the speedrunning pros and name ourselves and our rival A. Just A. Because every time the text box comes up, it's got to spend time spelling out your name. So if you want to save yourself like a few seconds, feel free to do this too. As always, the first big decision is our starter. Now, I'd love to choose my man Bulbasaur for the memes, but unfortunately, the cabbage falls apart in the later game, and Charmander's got no chance of beating Brock without some serious grinding. So we default to the turtle. And I know I waste a couple of frames of time moving here from A to B, but I feel like a Blastoise named B-Man is comfortably worth the extra half a second. But if I miss out on the world record by half a second, I'm going to be really salty. I also feel like it's important to mention here that one of the RNG manipulations used in a proper speedrun is to guarantee a good Squirtle. One that has a favourable nature, a good IV spread, basically one with good stats. Since I'm not using any RNG manipulation, I get what I'm given. Remember that for later. So my strategy is pretty basic. I'm going to do everything as fast as I can. Lots of mashing A through text and try not to waste time doing anything that I don't need to do. I put my text speed on fast, turn off battle animations, and change battle style to set, so it doesn't ask me if I want to swap out a Pokemon after every battle. I'm also going to try and avoid wild encounters as much as possible and only battle the trainers that I absolutely have to. I'm going to try and avoid unnecessary trips to the Pokemon Center and make use of potions to heal up when I need to. I'm also not going to waste time catching Pokemon to build a team. B-Man is all I need. I will need to catch a couple of HM slaves for Fly and Cut, but my logic here is that I'm not going to go searching for them. I'll just wait until I get a random encounter that works and catch that. So luckily, the first Pokemon I see after getting the Pokeballs is a Pidgey. And Pidgey can fly. So I throw a ball, hold up an A because that totally works, and catch it.
Gotcha, bitch!
So I make it through the forest pretty quickly, but since I've been avoiding every trainer, I'm already underleveled. So a level 9 Weedle is giving me all kinds of trouble. But I come up with a genius plan. So in Fire Red and Leaf Green, Pokemon have abilities, and Squirtle's ability is Torrent, which increases the damage dealt by water-type moves when Squirtle's HP is less than a third. So I let Squirtle lose some more HP from poison before using an antidote to heal the poison, and I leave it at 5 HP, which means I'll be doing extra damage for the gym. After nearly getting knocked out by a Sandshrew, I realized that I am not good enough at this game to be battling gyms in the red, so I immediately abandoned this terrible plan. The Brock battle goes relatively well, but now is probably a good time to mention the splits. So you may have noticed the timer on the left of the screen with a bunch of numbers next to it and a few check marks throughout the game. If you don't know, in speedrunning, it's very common to race against yourself to try and beat your own time, and you break it up into little sections, for example, how long it takes you to beat Brock. You can assess how well you're doing in each section of the game and come up with strategies to try and improve each section. The difference between those times, those are the splits. A negative number means that it turns green and you finish the section of the game faster than the previous run, it's a good thing. A positive number that turns red means you were slower. Now I've never attempted this speedrun, I don't have any splits to compare against. So I figured the only logical thing to do would be to use the splits from the current world record. So we are going to be seeing a lot of red numbers. But I thought it could be fun to see exactly how bad I'm doing. The world record speedrun managed to beat Brock in 13 minutes and 42 seconds. It took me 16 minutes, so not a terrible start. Let's head for the next split, Misty. Now, Mount Moon actually went pretty smoothly as well. I bought some repels and some potions to heal up, and I only had to do a couple of trainer battles. You can actually get through Mount Moon with only one trainer battle, the fossil guy, but I'm not that stealthy. This brings me to another mechanic that can be manipulated in these games. So in Gen 3, there are trainers called spinners. They do exactly what you think they do. They spin. But if they spin in your direction while you're trying to get past them, you gotta battle them. And in a speedrun, when you're trying to avoid trainer battles, this is not good. So the way the manipulation works is that if you run up to the spinner, it will force them to look in your direction. Then if you quickly open and close your bag on the tile before passing, it resets the spin counter and gives you 2 tiles worth of movement before they start to spin again. Now I ain't doing any of that, I'm just trying to do a little sneak pass without them noticing me. It doesn't work. So we get out of the cave and we talk to this guy to learn Mega Kick, which is a nice high risk, high reward move. It does 120 base damage, but only has 75% accuracy, but it can come in handy when you need it, but it usually misses when you do. The first thing we do when we get to Cerulean City is go straight to battle Misty. Now my logic here is that I'm trying to avoid battling our rival and his Bulbasaur for as long as possible, because that thing's scary. And it is in this gym that we begin a trend that will continue for the rest of the run, pulling victory out of my ass. The Bee-Man lives on 2 HP and bites the Starfish for the win, finishing Misty in 34 minutes and 31 seconds. 9 minutes behind the world record now, still not doing too bad. The rival battle turns out to be stupidly easy and Mega Kick actually lands, and we smash through the bridge with no issues. I actually think this section might be the easiest of the entire run. There's not a lot that can go wrong outside of a couple of oddish that don't like being kicked anyway. But we get to Bill, get a ticket for the boat, and get out of there at 47 minutes flat. Only 11 minutes behind the world record. This is actually going pretty well so far. But I'm about to make my first big mistake. One of many. But this one was really bad. You can actually see me realize it right here. Remember when I caught a Pidgey so I could teach it fly? I never caught anything for cut. So right now, I am frantically searching for any Pokemon that can learn cut. I eventually find a Meowth, and I'm not gonna lie, I don't even know if Meowth can learn cut, but I'm just desperate at this point. I throw 3 Pokeballs at it, and it just won't stand the ball, so I try a gentle bite from the Bee-Man and immediately kill it. So I got 1 ball left, and I know I can't attack. Eventually I find another Meowth, and I don't catch it. Then, as just a nice little reflection on how I'm feeling at this point, I accidentally hit the R button on the way into the Pokemon Center to bring up the help menu, because right now, I really need some help. I waste some more time going to buy some Pokeballs and decide it's probably a better idea to just go to the Diglett tunnel and catch a Diglett that I actually know can learn Cut, so I do that, and now our team is complete. We head to the boat, take out A, rub an old man before teaching Cut to Diglett. Now the part of the game I've been dreading more than anything else. The bins. So best case scenario, I get it first try. Don't have to battle any trainers in the gym and take out Surge, no problems. That is not what happened. I didn't get it first try. I managed to run into every trainer in the gym and then spent a stupid amount of time getting to Surge. I did manage to pull a victory out of my ass though. His Raichu set up multiple double teams before nearly one-shotting me with Shockwave, but the B-Man came through, hit Water Pulse through multiple double teams, and we finished Surge in 1 hour and 4 minutes, which puts us 19 minutes behind the world record. Still not doing too bad, but I'm about to make the single biggest mistake of the entire run. Did you see it? There it is again. Now, I didn't realize this at the time, just how bad I'd messed up. But in a speedrun, you want to be moving as fast as possible at all times. For the first half of the game, that means running everywhere. But after Cerulean, you get access to the bike. I did not get the bike. And I wouldn't realize this until the other end of Rock Tunnel when it was way too late to turn around. Speaking of Rock Tunnel, this brings me to another big mistake. This is probably the longest stretch in the entire game where you need Repels. Repels are essential to get through this cave quickly. I did not buy Repels. You may also have noticed that I don't have the HM for Flash, so I'm just running around in the dark. You may be wondering how I know my way around in the dark. The answer is, I don't. But eventually, I make it out. Now this seems like a good time to mention that I've added in the splits after I played through the run, because I didn't want the added pressure of having to keep track of all the splits as I was playing. As you can tell, I'm already crumbling under the pressure. For the world record speedrun, the next split is 4 escape ropes. Now I have no idea what that means, but I'm assuming at some point between now and the game corner, I'm supposed to buy 4 escape ropes for some reason. Obviously I didn't, because I have no idea what I'm doing, so I'm just going to call this split here. Moving on. Now, once we get to Celadon, we did do some shopping, but for something far more important than escape ropes. Unfortunately, I don't know my way around here, so we gotta... Nope, that doesn't help. Not you. Not you. It's not on this floor. Not on this floor either. It's not you. Alright, we got the guy, and we stock up on all of the X specials and X speeds that we can afford. Now it's time to get this train back on the rails, so we head out west to grab the HM for Fly, teach it to Pidgey, and fly back to Cerulean. I immediately realize that I never got the bike voucher and fly back to Cerulean, talk to this guy, fly back, and finally grab the bike. I head to the game corner, somehow forget to press the button behind the poster, and head down the stairs. While I'm battling my way through the rocket grunts, the B-Man finally evolves into Blastoise. I pick up some black glasses and immediately put them on the B-Man so we can look like the boss of the Squirtle Squad. We take out Giovanni in 1 hour and 40 minutes. We are now over half an hour behind the world record. It is not looking good. I also now know exactly what the first escape rope was for, because now I gotta walk out of here like an idiot and battle 2 more grunts on the way. Next, we head over to Lavender Tower to test out our new Sylph Scope. Now, if for some strange reason anybody ever actually watches this entire speedrun, you'll notice that at around 1 hour and 50 minutes in, I just stopped moving for a couple of minutes. So I got a 1-year-old in the room next to me, and he decided that almost 2 hours into my first ever speedrun, a run where I only get 1 attempt, that was a good time to wake up screaming. So, the final time got blown out by a couple of minutes, but yeah, you gotta look after your family, man. So, we save Mount Fuji to get to the Poker Flute in 1 hour and 54 minutes. Now getting close to 1 hour behind the world record. And after hitting every single spinner in the entire game, I somehow managed to dodge like 6 of them while riding a bike. I then realized that I'm terrible at controlling the bike and proceed to crash into everything. We head to the Safari Zone, grab the HM for Surf and the Gold Teeth before heading down to the gym to battle Koga, where I realise that I don't have any antidotes, so if I get poisoned, I'm dead. Luckily, the B-Man dodges Coughing's toxic, and we take out Koga in 2 hours and 5 minutes. Which means, and I know this may be a bit of a shock, but we didn't get the world record. So we head to the Warden's house to grab the HM for Strength, and while we're here, we may as well grab the rare candy behind this boulder. Son of a bitch, I never did Erica. So just quickly, I've accepted the fact that we're not beating the world record. It hurts, but I've come to terms with it. And after Koga, the world record starts to do some weird shit. Like, the next split is Blaine, and I haven't even beaten Erica yet. So partially because we're on 2 different paths, and partially because I want to build up some suspense for the final time, the splits end here. So I went back and beat Erica. It was very easy. Then we gave the guard some tea before heading into the Silphco. Now, I know exactly where I'm going in here. I've told the story on the channel before about when I was a kid and I had to take my Game Boy to school to get another kid to physically take my game and walk me to the card key because I couldn't figure it out. So now I know exactly where to go because I never want to get lost in here ever again. But it turns out the pressure of the speedrun does things to your brain because I got lost in the Silphco. It's like I'm 10 years old all over again. And not in a good way, but everything got much worse. So I went into the rival battle with a little bit of a plan. I knew Pidgeot had Sand Attack, so I couldn't set up my X specials or I'd get Sand Attacked 100 times. So I decided the best play was to take out the Pidgeot and set up on whatever the next Pokemon was. I probably should have realized it would be Venusaur, who alternated between Sleep Powder and Razor Leaf, so every time I'd use an Awakening, it would use Sleep Powder to knock me down to less than half health, so I'd heal up and it would put me to sleep again and the cycle repeats. Eventually it got the crit, and that's not ideal. Luckily, this is not a Nuzlocke, so we pick ourselves up and try again. This time I lead with a guard spec, so Pidgeot can't reduce our accuracy with Sand Attack, so I'm free to set up. It's a flawless plan. However, what I didn't know was that Pidgeot also had Whirlwind, which negates all of the X specials that I just wasted, but once again I pull victory out of my ass with a flinch and crit combination from the B-Man.
Gotcha, bitch!
Then after taking out Giovanni for the second time, I do something I've never done before. I escape rope out of there, and I don't get the Master Ball, which felt very, very wrong, but it's a speed run, I'm trying to go quick here. Next we take on Sabrina, who is surprisingly easy. Then we head down to Cinnabar Island, we break into the mansion, grab the TM for Blizzard while we're there, and grab the secret key. Now at this point in the game, I'm starting to really regret not writing anything down, because I'm actually reading each question and answering it as I go. I guarantee you that the real speedrunners are not reading these questions. But we get to Blaine, and I have a Blastoise. Here's a bunch of fire types. We win. Next up, the final gym leader, Giovanni, who may actually have been easier than Blaine. We head back to Cerulean to do some quick shopping and load up on X items. Head back to Viridian and take on A. Now, in the grand scheme of pulling victories out of my ass, this may be the biggest ass pull of them all. So he sends in Venusaur while I'm on like almost half health. If he hits me once, I'm dead. But this idiot goes for growth. So I'm free to take the knockout, right? But I get a low roll and he lives in the red. And then he misses Razor Leaf. The ass pulling continues. We get through Victory Road with no issues, but I'm fairly sure at this point I'm about 1 or 2 BPM from a straight up heart attack because I am freaking out, man. I am not confident that we can make it through the entire Elite Four with just an underleveled Blastoise. And the run doesn't end until we win. So this could take a while. So something that professional speedrunners would do here is deposit their HM slaves to get a quick heal from the PC and save time at the end cutscene when Oak does the whole Hall of Fame thing. I'm not doing that. Pidgeot and Diglett have been with me this entire time, and I am not abandoning them at this point. They're coming all the way with me. So first up is Lorelei, and everything goes pretty smoothly. We set up our X items on Dugong and then sweep through the rest of the team, until we get to Lapras, who paralyzes and confuses us. But the B-Man comes through and we're on to Bruno. Now, I thought this would be the easiest by far. Onix is terrible and Surf destroys it. So I was going to use the Rock Snake to set up all of my X items and just sweep through the rest of the team. It's a flawless plan, alright? And Onix has Roar. Back to square one. I tried to set up on Hitmonchan, but it keeps using Rock Throw to slow me down, so that's not working either. Luckily, Hitmonlee steals one of my classic moves and misses Mega Kick, so I can regroup a little bit and proceed to sweep. Next up is Agatha, who started pulling out some scary crits, but overall, this was probably the easiest to deal with. Lance was also not too painful. Now, I knew I needed to set up X accuracies and X specials to take out the dragons with Blizzard, but he leads with a Gyarados, which is kinda scary. But I figured out pretty quickly that his strat was to chip me down with Dragon Rage before taking me out with Hyper Beam. So all I had to do was heal before the Hyper Beam and we were good to go. But during the battle with Lance, I had a big brain moment, and this might be the best thing I did the entire run. So on his last Pokemon, Aerodactyl, I switch in to Diglett and let it die. And then Pidgey, and I let Pidgey die. Why was this a good idea? Because I know that A leads with Pidgeot. And as we've learned multiple times now, Whirlwind kills the X item strat. But if I don't have any other Pokemon, Pidgeot can't use Whirlwind. So I'm free to set up all I want and just sweep the entire team. I lead with a guard spec so I can't drop my accuracy, drop a few X speeds and X specials, and we are good to go. And at this point, I've basically forgotten that this was meant to be a speedrun. I was just so determined to not die that I played this safer than I've ever played in any game of Pokemon. But eventually, I defeated A. And as the screen faded to black, I finished with a time of 3 hours, 20 minutes, and 47 seconds. Now, if you're going by in-game time, which is a little bit different, it was 3 hours and 13 minutes, but either way, I think I managed to do both better and worse than I expected. I made so many stupid mistakes. I got lost in places that I should never be getting lost. I wasted so much time. But somehow, I ended up with a time that I'm actually pretty happy with. And after this, I'm super confident that an average player not using any glitches, any RNG manipulations, none of that shit, can get it done in under 3 hours. And speaking of RNG manipulations, remember how we spoke about the whole perfect Squirtle thing at the start of the game? A perfect Squirtle has a nature that ups its special attack stat. Something like Rash or Mild or Modest is perfect. The worst Squirtle would be one that had an Adamant nature, which actually decreases its special attack stat. Guess what the B-Man's nature was? Yep. So I had the worst Squirtle. I forgot to get the bike, I forgot to get a cut slave, I lost the rival battle in the Silphco, but you know what? I think I did okay. This was supposed to be the average player speedrun, and now you've got a benchmark. So let me know in the comments, what is your best time? Can you beat 3 hours and 21 minutes? I even submitted this run for verifications with speedrun.com, and apparently I had my emulator set to 60 frames per second instead of native 60 frames per second, so it's not a valid run for the leaderboard, which is very unfortunate. At least they admitted that it was petty. But since my whole deal was that I only had one attempt, I'm sticking with this one. Thank you so much for watching, ladies and gentlemen. I will see you next time.